See, this is right here why folks don't trust politicians. Imagine being 90 years old, still paying for the first house you ever bought. That ain't ownership. That's the biggest hustle ever. Roll the clip.
For millions of Americans, buying a home is financially out of reach. Today, this number might surprise you. The average age of a first-time home buyer is a record high, 40 years old. That is why President Trump says he is proposing what his administration is calling, quote, a complete game changer, a 50-year fixed-rate mortgage.
The average first-time buyer is 40. And this man's plan is to make you a homeowner until you turn 90? That ain't a game changer. That's a new kind of rent. You lock in a bank for half a century and somehow call that ownership? Folks in a barbershop know better than that. When affordability is the crisis, stretching payments out for 5 decades just let lenders eat off you that much longer.
Spreading out payments could lower your costs compared to a 30-year loan, maybe as much as $200 a month. But there's a very big trade-off. You could end up paying as much as double in interest. And the banks, well, they're also likely to charge even higher rates because the loan is going to take a whole lot longer to pay off. And if the goal is to bring more buyers into the market, but the number of homes stays the same, well, guess what's likely going to happen? Prices are going to go up. Not to mention, who wants to wait until they're 90 years old, right? If your first time you're buying a house, you're 40, you ain't paying it off until you're 90.
They dangle a $200 a month carrot in front of you. You could save a little right now, they say, but don't tell you you'll pay double in the end. That's like going to a payday loan place. Quick relief up front, and it's a trap all the way down the line. And notice how they never mentioned building more homes. If the supply doesn't change, all this gimmick does is spike housing prices. It's a shell game. They shuffle the numbers so you feel better this month, while giving the market every reason to jack up the prices on everybody.
This proposal makes absolutely no sense at all. Obviously, 30-year mortgages, the rates are much higher than 7-year mortgages, 10-year mortgages. And if people stop for a minute and say to themselves, oh, my monthly payment may be lower with a 50-year mortgage, the amount of interest they're going to pay over the course of 50 years at higher interest rates is going to make the cost of their home, 4 or 5 times the original purchase price in interest payments alone over 50 years? Who wants to do that?
When a former Wall Street banker calls a money scheme nonsense, you know it's wild. Paying 4 or 5 times the price of your house just to keep a roof over your head? Hell no. That's not freedom. That's debt servitude. Bro is saying this mess with a straight face. That's the scary part. Hey, real folks can spot a hustle from a mile away. This is the longest con I had ever heard in my life.
If you use a 50-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage, yes, you're saving about $200 a month on your monthly payment, but you know how much more you're paying over the life of the mortgage? $320,000 over the life of the mortgage. So that is a hefty sum for somebody to have to pay for that extra amount of affordability. But as you said, the real key here is that we have a supply problem. We don't have enough homes in the United States for the number of people who want to buy them. And the question that I keep coming back to is, Donald Trump controls the White House, Republicans control the Senate and the Congress. Why aren't they trying to pass a housing affordability bill? Where is their housing supply proposal? Where's a down payment assistance bill? They're not doing any of that. Instead, they're proposing these gimmicks that are basically some short-term benefit for long-term pain and not addressing any of the underlying structural issues.
Here's the heart of it, man. Men lie, women lie. Numbers do not. You saving $200 will cost you another $320,000 on the back end. The deeper truth is this: they aren't building more affordable homes. They aren't pushing down payment help. They're not even trying. It's easier to float you a 50-year mortgage and look like they tried to help you. See, this ain't about left or right. It's about who's being real and who's running a major hustle. If the players in power wanted to help these first-time buyers, they address the supply, the land use, the zoning, the real stuff. Instead, we just get a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Here's the thing. $2,000 checks for every American would cost about $600 billion. The tariffs are only set to bring in about half of that. And he's also supposed to use the tariff money to pay down our debt and bail out farmers. This math doesn't seem to make sense. And I even mentioned that the Supreme Court could knock down the whole tariff thing to begin with.
Yeah, these tariffs are being used for about 9 different purposes. And as you said, given how the Supreme Court argument went, I think it's highly likely that most of the tariff revenue is going to have to be refunded when they strike down the tariffs as an impermissible use of presidential authority. So again, there is no affordability agenda that this president is pursuing. If you give everybody $2,000 checks, and again, you have a limited supply of housing, of groceries, and so on, what's going to happen? We saw a version of this, frankly, in 2021. You have more money chasing after a limited supply of goods. Prices are going to continue to rise, which degrades the value of that benefit. But the point is, the 50-year mortgage, the $2,000 checks, look, neither of these ideas are actually going to happen. There are random things that the president floats on a whim. You can tell that Secretary Bessent has no idea what the president is talking about and has no plan for actually enacting it.
Now they're going to toss around this 2K check idea like it's monopoly money. But the math ain't mathing. $600 billion is the price tag. Tariffs bring in half. And the Supreme Court might wipe those out entirely. That's like promising to pay for your dinner with money that you ain't even earned yet. And on top of that, they're using those tariffs to bail out the farmers, pay down debt, and somehow give everybody a check. Man, it's smoke and mirrors, man. When the politicians start promising you free money without fixing the broken system that made you broke in the first place, you know there's a hustle. The last free check is the reason why we're in so much debt. As always, the folks with lobbyists, private equity firms, crypto billionaires, and foreign real estate investors, they get their tax break quietly, while all of us, the working families, are told to be grateful for this little $2,000 check. These politicians love to pitch shortcuts that keep you tied to a system designed for the banks and the billionaires. A 50-year mortgage, a random $2,000 check funded by some non-existent money. Boy, that's game. But that's also politics in 2025. Distract with gimmicks and hope we don't notice that the structure is rotted. Boy, this is hood politics. We don't do left and right, Democrat or Republican. We do right or wrong. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you come back for more. Right now, we out.